Welcome to Goldfish on Gaming, and today we start a new series on this machine, the Amstrad PPC640. This is a portable XT clone launched in 1988 for £600. Now in today's money of about £1,300, this might seem quite expensive, but back then it was actually quite affordable. Now under its hood is an NEC V30 CPU running at 8 MHz. Now this is actually pin compatible with the 8086 CPU and has an emulation mode to support the 8088. So this is actually compatible with a wide range of software, which was good seeing that at this point the 286 and 386 CPUs were already out and were significantly faster. So this machine was mostly going for high compatibility, low cost. That was then paired with an MDA and CGA graphics cards, and so could target the majority of software and games out at the time. Amstrad released two main models of the PPC, the 512 and the 640. You could tell the difference by their colour. The 512 unsurprisingly had 512KB of RAM, and the 640 had 640KB conventional RAM. They both had the same CPU at the same speed, but the 640 also had a built-in modem running at 2400 baud. Now let's take a closer look at this machine in particular. We have a passively lit black on green 9-inch LCD screen with a broken hinge. Next to it is a set of system lights, volume and contrast controls. Beneath is a full-sized, full-travel keyboard. This is literally a regular keyboard strapped to a machine. To the right we have two 720K floppy disks and the carry handle. And on the left hand side we've got PC speaker and a set of dip switches for the LCD. Along the back we have video, serial, parallel, two video ports and two expansion ports. So this machine was not in a particularly great state when I got it. We can see through these pictures it was dirty, grimy and sticky all at the same time. The hinge is broken, the bag looks like it was used to grow mushrooms. Overall it did not look great, and it also did not come with a power pack or any system software, which means the first thing I had to do was trying to power it on. So let's look at the various different power options on this machine. We have underneath this slot here, which opens up to reveal the battery compartment. This takes 10 C-class batteries, which pull double duty in both powering the machine and keeping the system clock and time. Now those batteries would only last between an hour to 2 hours in actual use. So let's have instead take a look at the back. Now we can see on the back there's two power ports. The first one is this big DIN connector. Now this is actually the same power port and video port used by the Amstrad CPC. I'm guessing Amstrad hoped for some sort of halo effect that CPC users might also get this machine. Now normally this connector would take a cable from the CPC monitor, which would both power the machine and take the video back to the monitor. Now you'd think that actually that would really be a good idea, but if we look at this pinout we can see that there's none of the video pins hooked up. This is purely for power. So unless you actually had one of the smaller power packs which came with some of the later models and only had the monitor, you could still power it from the monitor, but it would be the world's largest power brick. Now this is a bit moot anyway, as I actually don't have a CPC monitor or a CPC. So instead I looked at the port next to it, which is actually a DC jack. And it's actually surprisingly standard. It's got a negative jacket, a positive pin, it runs at 12 volts and 2 amps. Now that's actually pretty common. I had a quick look through my power packs for my various machines and found this. this is just a power pack for one of my various USB hard drives, the big sort of 3.5-inch ones, and it provides the exact voltage, the exact ampage with the same connector. So let's give it a go. Now, turn it on. We have lights, we have something on the screen, we get some sound. And now nothing. It's not pinging the drive or anything. As far as I can tell, there's nothing on the monitor. It's completely blank. But it's actually trying to tell us what's wrong. If we look closer at the lights, we can see we have power, we have the floppy drives, and the CRT at the top. Now that CRT light is currently on, which means it's currently trying to output to a monitor that I don't have. And I don't have any other way of trying to take the CGA signal to any of my other monitors. So we really should instead try and get it to output to the LCD, which means we have to look at those dip switches that we spotted earlier. If we look at the user manual, we can see we can set quite a few different modes from these dip switches. Everything from internal to external graphics, to CGA or MDA, or the amount of columns we want to display. So I'm going to set it to a 40 column display using just the LCD, which means we need to set it up to be this. Now let's give that another go. Turn it on, we have lights, we have sound, yes, this machine is actually running. We have something on the LCD, it's looking great, it's asking for the system software. This is probably the best start I could have imagined for this machine, and probably one of the better starts I've had to doing anything with a computer this old. Now, we have to try and find the system software. Initially, I actually thought finding it was going to be the hard part, but it turns out someone has already imaged the discs and put them on the website. The link, unsurprisingly, is in the description. What I didn't expect was trying to find a floppy disk with enough good sectors on it to be able to actually burn the image on. I actually went through this pile of discs. These are all old Amiga floppy disks, so they're all double-sided, double density discs, which is the exact ones that this machine takes. And all of these had lots of bad sectors and only came up to between 400 and 500k of usable space. Thankfully, I did manage to find 3 or 4 discs that were good enough. And so let's burn the software on now. And we're booting it up again, the disc's in the drive, we have lights, we have sound, we have something on the LCD. Come on, I know you can load, I can hear that disk drive going. You can do it, you can do it. Come on. You can do it. And look at that, it's asking for a date. Amazing. This is awesome. So let's try putting in today's date and see if it's Y2K compatible, and it's accepted it. Wow. And now the time. No, it's not going to remember it because there's no batteries. And we have a DOS prompt. I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a DOS prompt. Let's just list the directory, see if the disk drive is fine. It's all looking good. Let's try one of the other disks in the other drive, just to make sure that's looking good. And blow me down. That drive's good as well. this machine is actually in surprisingly good condition, considering the state it was in. With the machine looking really cool, it's time to start making the outside match the inside. And the first step had to be fixing that hinge. Thankfully, the tab was found just inside the machine. And so with a bit of modelling glue and a bit of fiddling, it went back on. With a bit more glue around the sides just to try and hold it in place, and it seemed to be holding its position. So while that dries, let's try cleaning the rest of the machine up. Now, I use this weird green hand thing that I bought many years ago. It's got these little dangly bits that get in between keys and into vents and stuff really easily, and you just spritz it with a bit of window cleaner or water, and it does a great job on cleaning up this sort of hardware. And for the more stubborn stains, with that cleaning done, it's time to put the LCD back in its place. And you can see the tab seems to be quite solid now, and a bit of pushing and shoving, it goes in quite nicely, and it actually seems to hold its position. With the tab glued and the LCD back in place, we can see it's far more solid than it was before, as it would just fall over for no apparent reason, and now it's very much keeping its position. With all the main outside cleaned, it's time to look at the bag that it came with. As we can see, it was pretty dirty. This was the easiest thing to clean, as it just went in the washing machine, and when it came back out, it looked really good. Much better than I was expecting. Now, normally we wouldn't bother too much about the bag, but as we can see, this one was designed specifically for this machine. So we fold it up, the machine slides in, we zip it up around it, and the flap goes through the handle. So you actually carry the machine with the handle at all times. The bag just hangs off it and gives you space for your system software and the power pack. With the restoration of the machine itself more or less complete, it was time to live up to the name of my channel and try some games on it. Here's a few that I decided to play. As you can see, those games look quite good in stills, but as soon as there was any motion, they ghosted really, really badly. Some games were just about playable, other ones were a nightmare. and were more or less impossible. And that got me thinking on how I could upgrade the machine to try and make things better. Now I knew I can't replace the LCD, but was there a way of trying to get decent video output? I know there's a video connector, but I don't have any monitors. The Commodore monitor is currently out being fixed, or any other way to connect it up to a more modern screen. I also have had issues with floppy disks, so was there a way I could get software on it much easier? And could I use a mouse with it? And many other questions started popping into my head of what I could do with it. Now, unsurprisingly, that became the subject for part 2. So hopefully, I'll see you for part 2, where I try to upgrade this machine the best I can. And until then, I've been the Goldfish, this has been Goldfish on Gaming.